Today we are talking about a new popular way of starting seeds, and that's called winter seed sowing. Now you might have heard about this. This is sort of a hybrid between starting seeds indoors and also having them stratified via the elements of outside during those winter colder months. So basically what we're doing is stratifying seeds. So stratification is a process that some seeds need to go through in order to germinate, and it basically mimics winter. Now you can do this indoors by using some sort of inert material like sand or perlite and putting your seeds in there and then putting them in your refrigerator. But by winter seed sowing and doing this outside, we're not only saving that bottom drawer in your refrigerator, but we're taking advantage of the natural elements that are happening outside. So before you get started, you're going to want to collect a few materials. This project is a great way to recycle milk containers or old juice containers. You just want to make sure that it's something either opaque or transparent to allow some of that sunlight to penetrate into the seed bed that you're creating. You'll also need either some scissors, or what really works well is like a carpenter knife or an X-Acto knife to be able to cut the container. You will need a drill or some sort of a hot punch or something to create drainage holes in the bottom. And for the way we fasten it, you could use pipe cleaners. And so again, you can either use your drill, or a simple paper hole punch will also make those holes in the container. If you don't have that, some people use duct tape. However, I prefer the pipe cleaner method. And the other thing is you're going to need some labels and a marker and a coffee mug. You're going to need some potting soil or some sort of seed potting soil mix, and then finally the actual seeds that you're going to need to plant. So you can use a lot of different seeds, anything that is a hardy, perennial, something that says plant in late fall, early spring, those work really well. So we've got some wildflower seeds that we're doing. Sunflower seeds also work well. So another little kind of term you might look for is something that says self-sowing. And you can also plant some vegetable crops early or late winter, early spring to go ahead and get those started, especially some cool season crops like spinach. So here's what we're making basically, is a container to create a greenhouse effect that you'll place outside. So we've got a couple of different containers here. We've got milk containers, and we're just gonna go ahead and take this water container and use this for our next one. And basically, like I said, a lot of different containers you can use, so this is a nice way to recycle them. You want to make sure that it is something that's transparent, because it helps with that greenhouse effect, allowing that sunlight to penetrate in there, causing those seeds to not only germinate but continue to grow until they're ready to be transplanted. You can use those clamshell take-home containers if you want. You just want to make sure that you put holes in the top of it. In this case, what we're going to do is take this lid off so that it has that exposure to the elements. Now before we start cutting this, because we're going to have to cut this in half in order to get into the inside and actually sow our seeds, we're going to drill holes in the bottom of this. Anytime you're working with a container, you want to make sure you provide plenty of drainage. So we're just using a drill. And again, go ahead and put extra holes, more than you might think you need. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of drainage holes in here, because otherwise your seeds will get too saturated. Now we used a drill, but you can also use like a hot metal punch or something like that to make those holes in there if you want. So at this point we need to cut our container almost in half. We're going to leave it partially attached so that it is still sort of hinged. And an easy way to do that so that you're drawing sort of a straight line is to get a coffee cup and just put your marker on that coffee cup and then circle your container around. And then we'll just leave it, again, a little bit of a hinge there where we're not going to cut. But before we cut that, there's a couple of things. So when we think about when we're opening this, we're going to need to actually close it somehow. Some people use duct tape, but another method is to go ahead and drill a hole above and below that line opposite where your hinge is going to be, and we'll use a pipe cleaner to actually attach it. So we're going to drill a hole below the line and above the line, and this is so that we can actually close our lid to our bottom here in a minute. And it's just easier to do that while it's still attached before we cut it in half. So at this point, we're ready to go ahead and cut our container in half. And we're gonna again start over here. Sometimes an X-Acto knife or a carpenter knife works the best. So our container has a nice hinge to it for us to open and fill it. And at this point, we're gonna get rid of our drill and pull out some pre-moistened potting soil. It's just nice and easy to go ahead and moisten your potting soil beforehand, so you don't have to worry about that after you've got your seeds in there. We're gonna add that. You want about 3 to 4 inches of that potting soil in here. Okay, so you can see we've got the potting soil in there. You always want to make sure you're leaving about an inch of lip, just so that when the elements come, they don't necessarily wash the seeds away. So we've got this. Now we really just need to put our seeds in here. We've got a mix of wildflower seeds that we're going to use. Again, you can use a lot of different cool season crops, some sunflowers, things that say self-sowing. A lot of those will really be good options for this winter sowing. And depending on what seed you're sowing really helps define when you should be doing this. But kind of a range is usually from December to March even. As late as March, you can be doing this process. Of course, we are here in Oklahoma, so one week it's, you know, snowing, and then the next week it's 60 degrees. So kind of be aware of that. But again, these seeds are acclimated to Oklahoma winters. So we're gonna go ahead and sow some of our wildflower seed mix here. And the reason why we're doing this as winter seed sowing, you might think, well, why don't I just put my wildflower seed mix outside and direct sow them if they're adjusted to the winter? Well, you can do that, of course, but the nice thing about doing this is you're actually controlling and protecting these seeds a little bit more. So if you were to scatter them out there in a prepped seed bed, a lot of times we have winds and we have water that come through, not to mention critters that come through, and there's a lot of other seeds that are in that ground. So when you start to see things germinate, you're wondering, is that my wildflower, or do my wildflowers not germinate, or did they disappear? Whereas this allows you to kind of control that. So anything that we see coming up, we will know is wildflowers. Of course, we did use a potting soil, not a topsoil. So again, topsoils won't drain as well, and they also would have potential weed seeds as well. So we're just gonna sprinkle a little bit more potting soil on top of this to kind of cover that seed just a little bit, not too much. So of course, anytime you plant seeds, you want to make sure to label those so that you know what is germinating. So I've just made a wildflower label here. And it's important to kind of maybe put that label on the inside so that it doesn't get lost. Some people will write it on the containers, but you have to worry about that fading over time also. And now you'll know why I drilled this hole. And so basically, we're going to use a pipe cleaner to go ahead and fasten our lid on here. And we'll just tighten that up around there. You can see I've taken the lid off, so when we place this out, we'll be able to still capture some rainfall or snowfall that will continue to moisten this. So after you have all your containers planted, then it's a matter of just setting them out there and waiting for them to germinate after they've been exposed to that stratification and spring starts to arrive. When you see them starting to germinate, that's when you want to make sure to check them more regularly and ensure that they do have plenty of moisture in there for those seedlings to continue growing. Also, you want to make sure that they're not getting too hot on those really warm days. Believe it or not, a real greenhouse effect can happen. So you might even find that you need to open this up and allow more of that cooler air to come in there. So continue to allow them to grow to about a couple of inches and wait until they have their first true leaves before you go ahead and then transplant them into the garden. Now, not only does winter seed sowing help save your refrigerator space, and also you don't need any special grow lights in your kitchen or in your living room in order to start your transplants, But the nice thing about these is because these seedlings have been growing outside in the winter, they're already acclimated to the conditions that you're currently experiencing. So you don't have to harden off your transplants. So if you haven't tried winter seed sowing, I suggest give it a try in order to get your spring garden started.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.